Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly thank all three of our witnesses. Great to have all of you here and your insights. And Mr. Davis, I actually, with all respect to the current chairman, I always want to say, Mr. Chairman, great to have you back as well.
Let it out. Just keep letting it out.
Well, your insights are certainly very helpful to us, and I want to commend Senator Coburn for having sponsored the legislation that resulted in this report, and the important work of GAO, and now following through on the assignment. And really what I see is the beginning of the process, the first of what will be hopefully a lot of dialogue between GAO, this committee, and its important work. And Tom, you touched on it perfectly, sustainability, that we don't just talk about these things, but then we follow through. And as when you were chairman and now with Chairman Nice, I have the privilege of chairing the subcommittee on government organization efficiency and financial management. And I assure you we will do our best as a subcommittee to sustain this effort from the legislative side and working with all the parties. On a specific issue, I mean, when you think about what's in the report, what's highlighted, and the inefficiencies and duplication, the waste of resources, teacher quality, education of our kids, employment training, especially with unemployment, over 9% for almost 2 years, DOD, Homeland Security. I mean, these are all top priorities for our country and for our citizens, yet we know we can do a lot better with the resources we're putting into them. I guess two first questions, General Dodaro, to you, this probably be in maybe a follow-up hearings with you or staff and on the subcommittee level. As you looked at some of the duplication, and such as the $4 billion on teacher quality, is there any ability to give even a guesstimate of savings, administrative savings, if we took those, 82 different programs into even half that number? Any ability to give a guesstimate of that $4 billion? How much could we likely save from eliminating the duplication?
I'll go back and take a look and work with the team, but I don't think we were able to do it because there are a lot of limitations on the amount of information that's available on what it costs to administer some of these programs, particularly those, in this case, that are administered through the state and local level.
Right.
But we do believe there's plenty of opportunity here to consolidate programs. And as I mentioned earlier, in the administration's proposal for education reform, they're already proposing to consolidate 38 of these programs into 11. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities. I don't have a cost estimate. I wish I did.
And I think that's a positive sign here, your reference to Secretary Duncan and DOE, that looking at trying to be proactive in that consolidation effort to be more efficient. Follow on, and I think it's a similar answer, that you don't have the ability to have the detail at this point, and that is when you look at, and I'm going to stay with teacher quality, teacher preparation, at those 82 programs, I don't think you probably have the data available to you right now that to do a cost-benefit analysis to say, all right, we have these 82 programs, these 5 over here we can show are really doing a great job. These other 77 are struggling. So when we look to consolidate, is that inaccurate that you at this point don't have the data or the info to be able to get to that detail, that cost-benefit analysis?
That's correct, especially for the smaller programs. And when we do mention in the report that a number of the smaller programs are so small, it's hard to evaluate them. And that makes sense.
Under $50 million number, that what administrative costs, what the savings would be.
Right, that's correct.
In looking ahead to the hearing process, I got to tell you, the temptation is to try to make the point about the duplication is to invite one representative from all 82 programs on just teacher education to come. We'd fill the room. There won't be any seats left to make the point that your report does, that we need to do a lot better here. Additional questions I'm going to try to squeeze in here. Improper payments, huge issue. You referenced $125 billion as probably the low end. That's what we know or think we know about. Who knows how much is really out there. Any specific recommendations? Because when we think of how to balance the budget and deficit reduction, it's entitlement reform, and two of the biggest areas of improper payments, Medicaid, Medicare. Any specific areas you want to point us towards regarding improper payments in those two programs?
The first thing I would say, in the Medicare area, there needs to be an estimate for the prescription drug component. Right now there isn't, and so the estimate's incomplete. There are opportunities to use more information technology up front to help detect, and we're looking at and evaluating opportunities right now. We talked about it at the high-risk hearing with Chairman Issa, and so we're looking at that issue. I think the Improper Payments Elimination and Reporting Act that was passed by Congress last year is a very important vehicle. It lowers the thresholds. It requires accountability. It requires regular reporting, setting of targets, and follow-up and transparency in reporting. So I do think this is a really important area that, with sustained attention, that we can make a lot of progress on going forward.
Hopefully, as we can sustain that effort with you. And Chairman Davis, did you have something you wanted to
I
add?
would just add, look, on improper payments, I think, has been constantly a problem for government, and this legislation helps. There are so many great software items out there on fraud detection, anomaly detection, the like, that aren't being utilized. I think you need to continue to push that from here. And I just add, share and savings contracts are something the government needs to look at in some of these areas. That is basically that you don't pay anything unless you get a return, and then you can do a percent from that, and it's negotiated down. They are legal under the FAR, but they're rarely used. But it's a great way to get something out there quickly. It doesn't have to come out of budgets at this time. It's a net to the government. And I throw that out for discussion.
I thank the gentleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.